What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tsla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about other factors involving the market, so what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just note that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. Soft runs in just 10 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So looking at SPY, I just want to say that right now we did see a very, very interesting trend. We're holding our 20 EMA very, very nicely, so that's going to be our very, very key support to see if this bounces or not. So I want to break down more information about this in just a couple of minutes. But next week is going to be very significant because firstly, we have Bostic from the Fed giving a speech on Monday, not to mention SP Global Composite, Manufacturing, and PMI reports coming out. That's going to be very important for Monday, not to mention Kashkari's speech. So there is some data coming out then. Tuesday also has some data. We have some data from the Richmond Fed. They're going to give us some more manufacturing numbers, but nothing else is too crazy for that day and then also on Wednesday. But for Thursday, we have GDP numbers coming out, followed by Jerome Powell's speech. So the guy's coming back next week on Thursday. Whatever he says could affect the markets, so get ready for that. And then finally, for Friday, we have the PCE data report coming out. That's going to be very important. It'll give us more insights on how inflation is looking. I can't wait to see what that looks like. So all of this is going to be very important, especially Thursday and Friday. For earnings, we do have some important ones coming out. Most of them are not that, crazy. We just have like AutoZone and a few others. But on Thursday, we have Costco. Costco is announcing their earnings alongside BlackBerry. Costco is a big one. So if you want to watch that or play it, it's up to you guys. That's important for retail. So watch that very carefully. Finally, the market thinks there's a 50-50 chance of us getting a 25 or 50 basis point cut by the Fed. Nothing out of the ordinary. And right now, greed is still making up the majority of sentiment. That's still making up these indicators, which gives the market some more upside potential. On top of this, I just want to say that momentum is still at greed. Greed is still making up the majority of this momentum as the market's holding up above its key moving averages. So it's still at a very, very high value. The put and call option ratio did go up just a little bit, but now it could be dipping lower again. It went up a little bit because we did see a little bit more put buying. That happened today. We saw over 300,000 puts being bought on SPY and etc., only to see the market just chop around, which ended up hurting options holders on both sides. Volatility is still neutral, not really doing much, so we're just going to have to give this some time. So what do we see from this point on? And here's my answer. So SPY is trying to hold this trend line and also this very, very key support. When I talk about the trend line, we're talking about this one. I know it's a little hard to see, but look at this yellow line. We bounced off this, bounced off this, bounced off this, and bounced off this very, very nicely. And then on top of this, we're holding it. So as long as we hold above that line, we're going to be looking pretty good. We bounced off our 20 EMA as well, or very close to it. That is a good sign that SPY is going to try to hold up. So you would anticipate another attempt to go higher next week because we held the trend line. We could see an attempt to try to fill this gap up to about 570, and most likely it will end up doing that, but we'll wait and see just to be safe. I think we ended up filling the gap below, or we came very close to doing so. So if we're bearish next week, you want to see SPY lose 565. If that fails us, we're coming down to this imbalance, taking us down to 563, if not 561. If we're bullish, you want to see SPY basically attempt to break out, try to hold above 568. As long as we hold above that next week, we're looking for basically that gap fill. I think there's a very, very good chance it's going to try to do that, and that has a much larger probability. So I think we're going to most likely try to fill that gap as long as we hold our key support. So in my opinion, I think that SPY will, at least going into next week, we could be looking for a small dip upon open, then it attempts to fill this gap, and we'll see if SPY could break the highs or not, but that seems like the most likely move, considering that we're on an uptrend, we're holding our trend lines very nicely. For Nvda, this could dip a little bit. We're going to be looking at our 50 EMA's key support at 15.43, followed by this gap support. So I think we could be retesting 115 to 114, but then we should be attempting to bounce off of that to get back up to about 118. A little bit of a dip could be coming to Nvidia before it attempts to bounce. That is the most likely case. Looking at these levels, we'll see how this is kind of like affected. We did have this flag forming. It's possible we do dip a little bit towards not only this, but also a retest of this flag before it tries to bounce. So it's still technically in a range. So if you look at this overall structure, it's in a range. So it might just remain range bound for the time being. It could still dip and then bounce within the range. So that's most likely what Nvidia is going to be doing. For Bitcoin, the 4 hour is looking a little bit more bearish to me. So I anticipate it's going to dip a little bit lower. To be bullish, you want to break past 64,000. But if we continue to fall, you're going to be looking at our key support at the 20 EMA, which is at 62,059, maybe a little bit higher on Monday by the time we open. So I think Bitcoin's going to dip a little bit more, and then we could try to bounce off that 62,000 area. That is the most likely case in my opinion. For not SPX, we're looking at ES. I think this is more important. ES, it's doing a good job because when you look at this, you guys will notice we have that green 20 EMA, right? We broke through it here, came close to it, bounced, came close to it, bounced. We almost touched it here, bounced, almost touched it. We actually did touch it here, and then we tried to bounce. So we're holding our key support at 57.34. That's now one of the main supports in terms of our EMAs. So if we do end up losing this 57, 20 to 57.40 zone right over here where the EMA happens to be, this will be dipping all the way down to 5,700 flat. If we end up bouncing, we're looking for an attempt to get up to about 57.80. I presume it's going to hold this for now and make an attempt to get up to 57.80 to start off the week. And whether or not it continues depends on some data, but it's doing a good job. For Tesla, looks a little bit weak here, but it's going to be A-OK. Tesla could retest 235 on Monday. If that doesn't hold, we're looking for this 234 to 235 range. This is our 20 EMA. If that fails, if Tesla fails there, it could go even lower, closer to the 50 EMA. That would be this gap down here. So I think what's going to happen, it's very simple. So Tesla is bullish overall. There's a nice uptrend on Tesla, nice accumulation structure. Tesla will run to the 246 gap fill much higher. But before that happens, we're going to be looking for a test. It might come down a little bit lower to retest 235, and then we'll see if it bounces off that to push up to 246 plus. Or if it loses 235, we're going to be coming down closer to like 230, this gap fill around there. Then it's going to try to bounce after that. So I'll be watching that very, very carefully. So it might be a little bit of a dip and a bounce. We'll see if that ends up being the case. And overall, Tesla most definitely has the potential to do so. For other factors out there, we have NQ. NQ is kind of flat right now. It did actually hit this trend line. Let me just call out that we hit this 20 EMA and bounced. We touched it again. We're trying to rebound. So there's a good chance it's going to attempt to do the same thing again. So if you look at, for instance, if you look at 20,000, if you break that, we're looking for 20,200 all over again. If we lose 19,800, the 20 EMA, we're going to be dipping back down to 19,600. So I presume it's going to be hitting this trend line, trying to rebound, pushing for that 20,200 area. So I see potential in this. For the QQQ, if we end up losing 480, we're looking for a dip back down to fill this gap towards 475. As long as we hold 480, there's going to likely be an attempt to get back up towards 485. So I think there's a good chance this tries to rebound. Could dip down here and try to rebound and start pushing for 485. There's a very good chance that the QQQ does try to bounce. It's doing a good job at holding up. So in my opinion, as long as it holds 480 next week, we're going to try to rebound for 485. Aapl, it kind of rejected here, so it might dip a little bit. It looks a little bit weak here. So I think Aapl could be retesting the support. Don't forget, I made a very, very big move already, and I did call out this move. I said yesterday it might hit 232, then reject, because that was a very, very tough resistance. So we called this move to a T. We're going to be looking at 227 to be tested. If not, 225. I think this 20 EMA is going to curl upwards to 225. Then we could be looking for a bounce off of that. Look for a little bit more of a dip than a bounce. For a few more, the IWM may be testing 220 to 221, then try to bounce off that. Coinbase is kind of flat right now. It looks a little bit more bullish if we hold above 167. As long as that holds, we're looking for basically 172. Amazon dipped down to 188, then tried to rebound. So we're looking at 192 as resistance. If that breaks, we look for 19, basically this gap fill up here towards 193 or just under that. And if that breaks, we're looking for 195, the 195 area. For Meta has this 560 area as our resistance. If this rejects, we could be dipping back down towards the 555 area. And then if we hold this, we could try to rebound. So we'll just have to see how it goes. For Microsoft, we're hitting our 4-hour 20 EMA, bouncing off of this very nicely. If we hit 433, we could be dipping back down towards 430. But if we do hit this, we could try to rebound off of this. We need to hold 433 to 20 EMA. I think Microsoft will be dipping towards that next week. And we'll see if it bounces. It might try to bounce off that. It definitely has potential, but we'll see. And Google's looking very strong and wants to break its 165-200 EMA. If it breaks that, we're looking for a big push for 167 plus. So there is potential upside in Google. It's holding up very well. Anyways, guys, the weekend is coming up, so I'm going to make this video nice, short, sweet, and simple for you guys. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys for your attention. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll be back tomorrow to give you guys more insights about what could be happening in terms of cycles for the markets. Until then, please enjoy your Friday, enjoy what life has to offer, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.